This is a Solid Signal podcast for the week of July 12th, 2021. And, this time around, we're still talking about cell boosters. I'm going to do another couple of weeks on that, and then we'll kind of get back into the regular stuff. It's kind of a summer of cellular signal boosters kind of thing, and we're going to try it and see if it drives a lot of people away. Hopefully it doesn't. So let's get started. If you look a lot on some of these e-commerce sites, the bigger ones, your Amazon and eBay, that kind of thing, you're going to find there are a lot of cellular signal boosters out there. And they're from brands you've probably never heard of. And most of the time I say don't bother being a brand snob, because most of the electronics that you buy are usually made in the same factory anyway. Whether you buy your phone from Apple or Samsung, it's probably coming from the same factory in China, for example. And that's why I really don't worry about it, except in the case of cell phone signal boosters. I do think I'm a little bit of a brand snob, and especially I really just hope that you stay with kind of the big ones. Wilson, WeBoost, SureCall, for example, and to some extent Smooth Talker and Uniden and a few of the other lesser known brands. But there's brands out there that I've never heard of, and maybe you'd never heard of until you started looking at listings, and they should generally be avoided. Cell phone signal boosters are a pretty complex piece of equipment, and they require a lot of work, so it's really worth looking at the brand names. Let's delve in a little deeper. One of the big reasons that it's worth going for a brand name cell signal booster is that there's more to life than just the regular FCC approval. When you put in any electronic device, anything that really uses electricity and puts out any sort of signal, it gets checked and approved by the FCC to make sure that it's not putting out any radiation that it shouldn't be. But this doesn't mean that it actually works. You can get FCC certification just by making sure that you're not putting out radiation that you shouldn't be putting out. And when it comes to cell phone signal boosters, that really doesn't tell you a whole lot. There's a whole second level of approval as far as cell phone signal boosters, and that comes from the carriers themselves. Only WeBoost, Wilson, SureCall, maybe one or two others actually submit their boosters to the carriers for testing and approval. And this is sort of an extra level of checking to make sure that the booster actually does something. It's very easy to create an amplifier and a couple of other bits of circuitry and call it a cell phone signal booster. The problem is it's not going to work. It has to be a very, very low noise amplifier in order to really make any difference to your cell phone signal. It also has to amplify the stuff it's supposed to amplify. Like I said, it's kind of weird. The FCC really just checks to make sure that it's not putting out stuff it shouldn't be putting out. It never really tests to make sure that it is putting out what it should be putting out. It's worth pointing out that the U.S. government does have something called the Consumer Product Safety Commission, which will test if something is actually dangerous and if it basically works as it's supposed to work. But that kind of organization really only comes into play when there's a complaint. They don't really do that testing beforehand. And that's why, even though I'm really not a brand snob when it comes to other things, I'm a bit of a brand snob when it comes to cell phone signal boosters. You should really only be looking at the top ones. There's a lot of inexpensive garbage out there, especially if you look on Amazon and eBay, and it's just not worth it. You could be getting something that doesn't work. You could be getting something that's designed for another country where they use different frequencies, but it just happens to be FCC approved. You could be getting something that really makes things a whole lot worse. I've tested an awful lot of cell boosters, my friends, and the sad thing is that most of them, once you get past the major name brands, don't do what they say they're going to do. They stick a super powerful amplifier chip in something and a little bit of electronics around it and a couple of cheap antennas, and they call it a day. They don't consider the loss quality of the cable they supply. They don't consider how much amplification is actually going to get cut back by anti-feedback circuitry. They don't consider a lot of factors. And a lot of these companies make really boastful claims that sound great. Oh, covers 5,000 square feet or 10,000 square feet for only $200. That would be great if it really worked, but the truth is it doesn't. And it's not really worth putting in that amount of money and then trying to get that money back when it doesn't work. The challenging thing with cell phone signal boosters at all is really determining whether or not they work. It's a sad but true fact that the bar display on your phone doesn't do a whole lot of anything. So you could be getting a lot more benefit from a booster and not seeing a large number of increased bars. Or on the other hand, you could see your bar number jump up and not have any better results. The only way you can be sure is instrumented testing with kind of meters that most folks don't actually have. However, the real proof of it, as they say, is whether or not you're getting faster data and better voice calls. That's what it comes down to. If you don't have those dead spots, then your cell phone signal booster is working. It's as simple as that, folks. So considering how hard it is to know whether or not the thing is working, considering how hard it is to know whether or not it's actually doing what it's supposed to do, why wouldn't you go with a name brand, somebody that you know, a company that was instrumental in not only developing cell phone signal booster technology, but also in working with the government to help understand what the proper rules and processes are for cell phone signal boosters. And really, when you talk about those companies, there's a fairly short list, and you've heard me say them again. A lot of Wilson and WeBoost and SureCall and a few other brands. These are the ones I tend to want you to stick with, and these are the ones you're going to find when you shop the great selection at solidsignal.com. You kind of saw that coming. It's a little bit of a commercial for the end of the podcast, but really, if you need a cell phone signal booster, don't go with the other guys. Go with the stuff you'll find at solidsignal.com. We've got the best selection. We've got the best prices. We've got the best tech support. It's just worth it. That's it for the podcast for this week. Be sure to like and subscribe. Always makes me look good to my boss. And I will be talking at all of you real soon.